6 a.m. I took to the streets in Phoenix with my camera. It was already 90 degrees. A few people were out jogging, a handful were walking their dogs, but mostly the homeless traipsed around the streets. It was the coolest part of the day when a man approached me draped in a torn moving blanket. He asked for a Pepsi, and I knew he was my savior. I had to tell him I didn't have a Pepsi because I really didn't have a Pepsi. So I crossed over to the left side of the street because I knew I deserved it. Providence hadn't offered grace in months. Why look for it in Arizona? They say it's a dry heat, and that's true. It isn't the soul-sweltering 92 or 93 degrees with 90% humidity at home. But go for a 2-mile hike in 115 degrees and then laugh it off as a dry heat. I made it back to the car and threw up. This was my first time to Arizona unless you count a brief layover years ago. Arizona is called, of course, the Grand Canyon State. Angela and I intentionally didn't go there because any such stop we made would have been wildly superficial. It made me think of my old friend from England, who, when visiting the States, would drive across a bridge to cross off and claim another state visited. "6 days was all we had. Angela really had 2. Tied up in conferences, Angela left me to my own devices. I pulled away from the hotel and drove east, then north up to Monument Valley, swang back through Phoenix to pick Angela up and hit Sedona before our red-eye back home. The parts of Arizona I saw were made of rocks, buttes, cacti, canyons, mesas, overlooks, and drop-offs. Wildfires, heat, sandstorms, dust. The little pebble that gets stuck in your shoe and hurts enough to be annoying, but not enough to take the shoe off. I can see why so many poets are drawn to the desert. I understand why the richness of visions and mirages and divine beings are seen in abundance in the barren. There is an undecided element about the rocks and heat, a bewilderment about the wilderness. The lush, uninviting green cactus with arms patiently waiting up to 100 years before sprouting commanded my attention. After 9 years, the cactus may be 6 inches tall. In another 150 years, the same cactus will stand around 35 feet. How do you comprehend that span of time existing in a single spot, a life ruminating the ground of being? Only a poet could find and articulate words to explain how life lives and thrives. How one rock remains untouched, unmoved for thousands of years and others for millions of years, while a sandstorm nixes away one grain at a time. How the changing sands invisibly blow to the monolith's steady-paced eye. My Navajo god, a man named Harry, tells me the stories of his grandfathers. He speaks of his God. I believe we have the same God, but I think I could never know his God without knowing Navajo. The same way water and wind work on a canyon for millions of years, language scrapes out the channels of our mind. We can only know the way we think. While we look around at Monument Valley, I think I want to stay, learn Navajo, and understand Harry's God. He teaches me a few words, but by the afternoon I have lost them. There's no great epiphany of meaning in Arizona, not for me. I've lost those visions the same way I lost Harry's words. I just couldn't hold on to it anymore. I used to know they would come back. Life is always lived between flashes of incomprehensibility. Arizona reminds me that it's missing. Now I don't know if I'll ever feel the same connection I did with the rocks and sandstorms. Maybe that should count for something, though. You cannot miss what was never real. So even in the absence of God who walks in the cool of the morning, I am affirmed by God's absence.